Right now, we're going to dive into a conversation that I have really sparked my interest of the insurance policies that these top-round draft picks have or don't have. And Darren Rovell has broke a big story. ActionNetwork.com. ActionNetwork.com is the website. Darren, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're having a great Friday.
I am.
Well, I'm so curious to hear a lot about this because there's so many things that I just don't know about these insurance policies. Can you walk us, maybe just kind of gives us a layman terms of exactly what these insurance policies are about, and then we'll work our way to Tua Tagovailoa.
Right. So there's basically two policies that you can get. You can get a permanent total disability policy. It costs about $5,000 to $7,000 per million, and there you typically get in between 2 and 5, up to 10 million. Leonard Fournette at $10 million. And then there's a rider attached to it, if you want, that has a loss of value policy, which basically projects where you're going to be in the draft. And should you slip at some point past that number, usually 10 or 15 picks past the number that you were projected, you start collecting a certain amount of money depending on how big your policy is. So for permanent total disability, you need to be injured and never play again to collect. And then for the loss of value, you need to fall significantly in the draft to collect. So those are the two policies. And either players can pay, and then it's definitely tax-free when they get it, or schools can pay, and there's a question as to whether it's taxable when the money actually comes to you. But those are the two. And then in 2014, Oregon or Texas A&M started using the Student Assistance Fund, which is national disaster, kid's parent dies, approved uses of the NCAA kitty that they have, and they started using them for insurance fees, and then everyone started doing it, and that's where we're at.
So, but the other policy of the loss of value, a student-athlete has to pay for that, correct?
The school has in some cases, and the kid has in some cases. It depends. Alabama has decided they're not paying for loss of value policies, but they'll find a policy for a kid, and he'll just have to pay it. Like Dylan Moses, I think, took $1 million out, and, thank God he did. And, if he drops, then he's got that loss of value.
Okay, the other question I've got about loss of value is, what if you decide to come back, like a Dylan Moses? Is that just now null?
Yes, you have to repeat your policy because you'll have a different projection. And Moses now on loss of value, he can't lose value. If you have an injury, that injury then can't be part of the insurance. So in order for him, he'd have to injure himself again for a different reason and then fall. So pretty much you need a new policy year to year.
Darren, is it pretty common that universities do pick up this, or is this very uncommon that they don't pick it up?
On loss of value, there's fewer schools picking up loss of value. I know Joe Burrows has loss of value. He picked it up himself, I understand. Trevor Lawrence picked it up himself. Clemson didn't. I am told that Ohio State did pay for Chase Young's loss of value. So I think it depends. Now, there's often schools, I know Oklahoma, will basically say, all right, we have $35,000 for you. You want to split it? Split it how you want.
Darren, based on what you know, does this put it back on the table that Tua Tagovailoa could come back to Tuscaloosa, that maybe that's a little bit more likely than maybe what we thought a couple of days ago prior to learning your article?
I think it makes it more likely that he would come back, not unless there's an indication you got to declare for the draft by late January, not unless there's an indication that, by then we'll pretty much know the order of the draft. So if the Dolphins say, we want you, we're definitely going to draft you at 4 or 3 or whatever, then he won't come back. But if he has an indication that it's going to be outside the top 10, then I think he comes back. I mean, it's possible now. Obviously, Burrows is going to jump him. If Justin Herbert jumps him, then he might be at, we're talking about 11 to 20, and he's certainly not going to be throwing for the combine or any type of workout at least until, maybe 20 days before the draft. So It would have to be on faith that a team would say something and tell him to get into the draft. But again, he'd have to declare earlier.
You also had a chance to talk to his father. What was that conversation like?
I just actually got a statement from his father. I would have loved to talk to him. I thought it was important, to talk to Greg Byrne and to get it. I got a statement from his father. But I would say I talked to Greg, who I maintain is he might be the best athletic director in the country. And he just took me through. It wasn't like a surprise to him or, oh, now this looks bad. Like, he very much knows that they have decided not to pay loss of value and that it's calculated by the fact that fewer people collect loss of value than permanent total disability, which is true.
One more quick thing. You point out in your article, if you drop from 4 to 11, that equals about $13 million loss, and a drop from 4th to 9th is about $23 million. That is a significant part of the motivation if you wanted to return and kind of increase your value, but you also take a chance of having another injury, which is another possibility.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, you can't collect on the same injury. So he'd have to have another policy again. So, listen, there's a lot that goes into this equation, but this is just another factor.
Hey, Darren, thank you again for jumping on such a quick notice, man. We've enjoyed somebody kind of explaining this because it's so much up in the air, and I appreciate the helping us understand the conversation of Tua Tagovailoa and some of these insurance policies. Sorry,
I was going in.
No, it's okay.
It's on a Friday.
No, I got you. No problem. Thank you again,
Thank
Darren.
you, guys.
Darren Rovell helping us out.